Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Ignite. Today, we're excited to explore the stories found in 3 generations rooted in Latin American heritage.
That's right. Today, we will speak with the Lazcano family, the owners of the local restaurant Ahi.
Raquel Lazcano, the youngest of the family, is a student of Southern Adventist University and serves as the social vice president in the Latin American Club.
How has her family's journey to success shaped her leadership style? Stay with us to find out. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us here today and taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule to come and talk with us.
Now, I actually had my very first college course with Raquel, so this is a fun little full circle moment, and I've been to Ahi just a couple of times, but I'm very excited to just hear the story and absolutely try the food. Thank you so much for providing it.
What was life like in Peru?
Well, we have stability in life. You know, I have 2 kids, and my husband was working, and then I take care of my kids at home. But I like the challenge. I like adventures. And then we decided to move to get better life for our kids. And then we got to open this door, America, and then we came here. We came here. I have a 27 years old when I moved from Peru to America. And it's a blessing. This is my second country. I think I live more than I was living in Peru, in the United States. But we stay in Florida. One point in Florida and Miami, they don't speak English. They speak Spanish. And that's the worst parts, you know, the only because we can practice English. And then I feel comfortable over there with Spanish, you know. We started to think about business because I love it. And I accept the challenge about business, and I started as an immigrant. They were very hard in the beginning, but after that, we working on, and my kids, they growing, they study over there in the school, and they help me a lot. They help me a lot. All my kids, my 3 kids, I have 3 kids, and 6 grandkids.
Grandkids, yes.
6 grandkids.
So you were born, Raquel, here in America. Were you born while living in Peru?
Yes.
Do you have a lot of memories from there?
So I moved here to the States when I was 10. My mom and my dad came first. And my brother and I, my older brother and I, stayed in Peru for about 5-6 years with my grandparents. After that, we were able to reunite with them here. And then by then, my little sister, the youngest, we're like 10 years apart, she was born here in the States. So, so I was born in Peru, and I lived there till I was 10, the beginning of 5th grade, I think, is when I came here. And I actually, my first school, I went to Michigan.
Oh, really?
And my uncle was living in Andrews, he was studying in Andrews, and so I went to school there, and I was in an ESL program where I was learning English.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what were your reasons for moving here to America?
She's always been an entrepreneur, even though she mentioned she was a stay-at-home mom in Peru. She always looked for ways to make things, to create things and sell them, just because she wanted to help at home financially as well. You know, Peru's a third world country, and although you may have, my father had a job and whatnot, it's still very challenging, you know. There's no really middle class down there. And so so she always
I was a clothing designer.
Yeah, that's what she studied, to design clothes. Yeah, clothes designer. So she
made
would.
You made this?
Yes.
She made what she's wearing. Yes.
Very nice.
I made for her.
Growing up, all of her dresses were definitely made by Mom Pili.
Well, that's awesome. Raquel, have you ever visited Peru?
I have, yes. I have been a few times and spent several months there back when my great-grandma was still alive, and stayed in her house, which is
awesome.
Where they were both, you know, she was raised and then raised up until she was 10 years old. So I have been able to go back and visit. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
What was your first home like? I'm sure you said in Florida, correct?
Yes, when my parents moved to the
Yeah,
States, they
Miami.
moved to Miami, Florida. And when we came, we joined them in Miami, Florida. That's where after 10, 11 years old, I grew up in Miami.
Okay, yeah. So what were like jobs and what was living there like for you?
Was it a clothing designer, you said?
Yes,
Was that
yes.
from the beginning?
Yeah, in Miami, yes. I have my own business.
Okay.
Yeah. I start since, step by step, little by little. I start with one machine in my home. And then we are growing after we have 50 machines, 50 working with us, for us. And then they help me, to support my kids.
It was really a great blessing that she decided to have her own business. Because, at home, she was always there. Even though we went to school, we would come back and, it was kind of like the garage became, the manufacturing at one point. And I remember how, we would come home and she was always there available for us, and in the morning she could see us off. And then we would also work alongside with her, manufacturing clothing, thousands and thousands of garments. Like it was just one of those things.
Yeah, we manufactured it for Orlando, for Disney World.
Oh, awesome.
The sport wear clothing, and another companies for New York.
So there were several, the industrial machines, and so it's nice. All of us, my brother and even my little sister, she would sit down and, after you finish sewing a garment, you always have leftover thread, and so she would just sit and cut all the ends of the threads and stuff. It was a family business. Even though we were still young, we would definitely help out and grew up with that.
So speaking of family, was it probably around this point that you met Mr. Lazcano?
It was in Miami. He also was brought in, and we put him to work as well. Yeah, we met in Miami. He comes from a Cuban family, but he was born and raised in Miami, and we met down there. And sure enough, we got married, and he was brought into the business as well at one point. So.
That's awesome. Good family ordeal.
Yeah, it's something that I think that it's not easy to do, having family business, I think, because you have to deal with the family, and you know how it is. Like sometimes it's fun and good, and sometimes you have difference of opinions, and I think it's easier if you work with complete strangers that you might just be able to tell whatever you want. But with family, you can speak your mind and say whatever you need to, but at the same time, you have to consider that they are family, and you need to, also be mindful about that. But it's been wonderful. I mean, we grew up working like that, so for us, it hasn't really been hard to be able to work as a family because we've been doing it for such a long time now. So. Yeah.
But I think it's the center of those, these challenges. Is Jesus.
Amen.
Is the center in our family, in our business, in our kid. I think that's we keep in union. We keep in solid family, to working hard and thinking that we can grow in more and more and more.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember just that a God-centric family can really succeed and survive anything.
This is true. Yeah, for us, my grandmother is like the matriarch. She was the matriarch. She was the first one to receive the message in our family. So she was 4 years old when my grandmother heard about the message and became Adventist. And so we've been able to carry that through, and not just my mom with us, and then us with our children, and praying that we continue to spread that, love, and know that no matter what problems or what circumstances or what challenges we may have, as long as we have God in the center of our lives, that we can overcome all of them. So yeah,
that's amazing. But Raquel, I have to ask, what is your perspective sort of on, your parents meeting and him getting involved with the family business?
Our family is really close. We always kind of have been, and I think that plays in the role with my dad kind of joining my grandma's side of the family, just because he jumped right in. I've heard lots of stories of how he would spend late nights with them, bringing them food, or just coming to keep them awake while they're sewing, and just helping as much as he can. I think that just adds to him fitting in really well, and probably making a good impression on, his future mother-in-law. And
take notes.
Yeah, and I think it just really adds into like how close we are as a family, and even combining his family with hers, and which are both of my sides, and just the closeness of that. Yeah.
So you guys are now members here in the greater Collegedale community. Was it directly from Miami to Collegedale, or were there stops in between?
So no, there were stops in between. When I met my husband, he wasn't a Christian, and he wasn't really doing a whole lot. We were young. We were 18 when we met. So
wow.
I remember him telling me, which I didn't know this then, but I know now, that he was working. He wasn't going to school or anything. But then apparently my mom talked to him and told them, whoever wants to be serious with my daughter has to do something with their lives. And so,
Wow.
I didn't know this back then. I know this now. And so I guess that kind of, pushed him to do something with his life. So he joined the Navy.
Wow.
So he joined the military. He was in the Navy. So that took the Navy. After we got married in 2000. We moved to, he was already in Virginia, and so I moved to Virginia to be with him. By around 2000, the manufacturing, business, the sewing manufacturing business had really, really slowed down. And so my mom, work wasn't really available. She was just struggling, and Miami is a city that you need to keep up with, and the cost of living is really high. So my husband convinced her to move up to Virginia, and so she did, and everybody moved up, and we were there. Eventually, my baby sister came here to Southern. She wanted to come to Southern once she graduated from high school, and that's when my mom decides to move here so that she can be, with her. And my husband, once he got out of the Navy, he went and applied to the nursing program in Miami because he was still a resident down there. He became a nurse down there. He got his AS, and then we moved here to be with Mom. And like she said, we're a very close family.
Yeah.
So we came up here so that by then we had David and Raquel already, and they were the only grandkids. So we were like, well, so they can be with Mom. We didn't want to raise the kids in Miami, so this seemed like a really nice area to raise the kids in.
I have to ask, especially with the amazing food spread we have out right here. I mean, just beautiful. What inspired Ahi?
Well, I used to have a business all the time, and when we moved to Virginia, the clothing business around in Florida and in United States, they suffer because they import from other countries. They make it over there, they bring over here, and they're cheaper. I can't compete it with the prices to make here in United States and the import, against the import. And then we decided to sell. I keep some machines with me still. And then after that, when we moved, my son asked me, do you want to start a business again? And then I says, oh, I will like it. And he says, okay, let's do it. And he pushed us and he helped us, and he lived here also with his wife. They studied in Southern University, and we start Ahi. And they find the names, the kids, they made it, my kids, they try, this one is good, this no, and then try to figure out which is better. And finally, we started with Ahi.
Wow, that's amazing.
What would you say were some challenges in kind of just establishing Ahi here in Collegedale?
A lot. So up to this point, we've, she's always been an entrepreneur and always been able to have her own business, but we never ran a restaurant, so we had no idea what that was like. But again, the way that my mom raised us is that there is no challenge that you cannot, like you cannot face, and so this was a challenge that we had, and it meant having your own business. It's hard work. running a restaurant. It's really hard work. But it's rewarding because you make your own hours, you make your own, you do what you want to do, you're your own boss. Learning how to, develop. She didn't like to cook. Surprisingly, ironically, she does not like, growing up, she never liked to cook, and now she was a head chef. So,
at this point, I have to give it the honor to God, because I pray a lot. You don't believe how I pray to make especially vegetarian food. And then I ask God, please give me advice, give me wisdom to develop the recipe for Peruvian vegetarian food. And one morning, early in the morning, like at 4 o'clock, I wake up and one recipe comes to my mind. And then I run into the restaurant and I start to prepare, call her, okay, take the measurement. I know I have the recipe, we can do this. And the honor of God, the praise the Lord, He did for us.
Wow.
He did.
I love he's got a sense of humor for sure.
Right, yes, this is very true. I mean, because her passion is sewing. She loves to sew, and she still does. I mean, whenever she gets a chance, she makes herself an outfit or her an outfit, and but this is what we have now, and she's an amazing cook. She cooks still very, very delicious. She has a great talent.
So Raquel, like we've been talking about, your mother and grandmother, they were born in Peru, but you were born here in the States. Would you say that your upbringing was different, and if so, how?
Yeah, I would say just by being, like, the difference of being in the United States compared to a third world country like Peru is probably the biggest difference. Just the difference in opportunities as well. They grew up in a very third world country, low income, which is really different from where I grew up, and which I owe it all to them and their change of living and how they chose to come here to the States to make a better living for the generations that are continuing, coming and continuing to go. And I think that would be the biggest difference, in how we were raised.
How would you guys say it's different for Raquel than it was for either of you, I guess, growing up?
Well, very different. They've never had to go through hardships that I know I did, and I'm sure my mom definitely did. I know when I was a young girl in Peru, there was terrorism. We would lose, power. We couldn't go out in the streets after a certain time. I mean, all these experiences that make you, mature in who you are. By the grace of God, our kids didn't have to go through that. At the same time, they've also gone through their own hardships. I think, at least for my husband and I, and what my mom did as well, was not just to give us everything just because we live in the land of opportunity or the land of that you can get anything. They had to work hard. They had responsibilities, just the same. We kind of wanted to continue to instill, who they are here, even though they're being raised here, born and raised here, because this is what they know. So, yeah.
Wow.
No, that is very, very interesting. But how would what are ways that the two of you, especially since leaving Peru, like to preserve your culture? I'm sure that ají is one of the ways, maybe?
Right, opening up a restaurant is definitely a way to, a Peruvian restaurant, to preserve our culture. At the restaurant, we definitely use Peruvian products, and certain, obviously not the rice, not the potato, things like that. But in order to make our food authentic, we buy imported products from Peru. The peppers, things that give the flavor. And then we do try to buy local as much as we can, because we like to, my mom's, she's always taught us to try to eat as healthy as possible. So at the restaurant, we cook like we would at home. We don't use and can anything. We prepare everything, and they've been able to see that because that's the way it was done in Peru. You buy the beans, and then you soak them, and then you prepare them, everything from scratch. That's one way that we've been able to do that, I think. And the music, the Peruvian music, the folklore music. We've always, as they grew up, we played music so they know, Spanish for sure, teaching them how to speak the language so that they can communicate. And what other ways? I mean, learning how to cook the food, I think mainly, and just little things that are specific to the culture. For her, it's a little different because she has a mixture of both, Peruvian culture and Cuban culture. Even though we're both Hispanic countries, cultures are very different. So she's had an influence of both sides of the culture. So, but she was able to help. She's been able to help us at the restaurant, and it's at a very young age to work and up front, to be able to and meet a lot of Peruvians that will come by and whatnot. So definitely, I think that's a way to preserve the culture.
Oh, that's awesome. I have one more question for both of you, and I think Genesis has one more for you, Raquel. But we want to kind of ask you about seeing Raquel as she finishes up college and starts finding a career of her own. What do you hope? What do you hope to see Raquel accomplish in the future?
Well, she has a lot of capacity to get whatever she wants, and then I try to, what the word? Encourage to her that whatever you're thinking that you can make it, do it. Put your effort, ask God, and try and get it. And then for her, I want she feel free, comfortable, and security, and all the time I said, you can do it.
Yeah, we definitely want to see her thrive in whatever that she chooses to do.
Yes.
She's very artistic, and she's helped us out a lot with pictures or posts on Instagram. We're not very tech savvy or have that creative, mind. So she's, so we want in the career that she's chosen and the path that she takes for her to know that, my mom did it. I mean, I came here at a young age, and it wasn't as challenging as it was for her, but it was still challenging. But if my mom did it and I was able to do it, then she has even more, like she said, the opportunity to be able to achieve any of her dreams and goals.
Raquel, what sort of inspiration do you get from your family for your future, or what kind of lessons, I guess, have you learned from them that you want to carry with you in your life?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot of lessons, and just kind of what we've heard today about their dedication to continue on and just even start their own business, coming from having no degrees or having no idea how to run a business. It's really inspiring to just see them thrive and make their own future and make a future for me. And so I think it's really inspiring and really touching, just knowing that I have such a big future and have lots of opportunities because of them.
Well, that is incredible. Thank you guys for being with us, and it's an incredible story to hear. 3 very different perspectives, but all the same story. Thank you guys so much for bringing the food. I can assure you that will be eaten very soon.
You can try.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. Thank you for
welcome.
having
Thank
us.
you for giving us
Absolutely.
opportunity also. Thank you.
And then the awkward silence as it cuts. All right. Nice.
Talk about LAC.
I think it's okay because when we do kind of our promotional campaign, it will be tied to it pretty well. Because this isn't an LAC.
Right. No, yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
It's LAH, I guess, Heritage. Genesis, I don't know about you, but that was an incredible conversation, and may I add, incredible food. If you've never been to Ahi, I recommend going as soon as you can. On Fridays, it is 20% off for Southern students.
Yeah, I for one think that this food looks amazing, and I also was very just inspired by the conversation we had and the lessons and experiences that the 3 generations had to share.
Ignite is a student-run production based in the School of Journalism and Communication.
For more of our content, subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify, and for updates, follow our Instagram and TikTok at Ignite SAU.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.